All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Beastars, Season 2, Episode 6.
Hi.
Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Dad. Yeah. Like, oh boy.
Not Dad, you know.
Right.
But, sort of. Dad.
But also closest thing that... To a dad that he actually has.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
other
Louis,
than, the lion.
making a big change, making a big decision here.
Yes.
Legoshi going back on a decision, kind of realizing that because of Goheen's training and forced meditation, he actually kind of needs to be in the thick of it for now.
Yeah.
For now.
Oh, boy.
But we'll see how that goes, because I don't think that's going to last long. Given the fact that he was attacked not long ago, and that person who got bit in the face or the neck by him,
it's kind
probably
of a big deal.
Needs to be in hiding for a bit.
But he got the fur cut, and it looks really good, you know, and people have taken notice. Not just Juno, but also...
Not just Juno.
Also...
Yes,
resident.
Yes, Pina.
Yeah, I was going to say goat, but... No. He hasn't earned that. Yeah, he's a sheep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A dull bighorn sheep, apparently.
Yep, because if he was actually a goat, that would be just a bit much. But, yeah, there was that as well. So, oh boy, what are they going to get into this episode?
Yeah, so y'all, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Tournament Dark. No, I'm just kidding.
Almost, but not really.
Yeah, not really. So we'll get some more investigating from that side of things. But yeah, we basically have two main boys here going about some conversations.
Yep.
So first, Louis.
Yeah.
He finishes up the conversation with his dad.
And quite frankly, like I feel like we had some pretty good calls on how that would go. I did not expect the whole thing of come back when you're strong enough to pull the trigger, but I like that. You know, he ended up signing off on the thing as temporary leave of absence, right?
Yeah.
And yes, Louis, you really did, you know, show your hand by pulling out the gun, right?
Exactly.
Because as weird as your relationship has been, he does know you pretty well, right?
Yeah.
He knows that you were top of the drama club and things like that, right? So there's, I want to see more interactions of those two. Like that first one, I was like, hell yes, and now I just want more.
Right. And he's been, according to him, like questioning, after all these years of investment, like how best to love him. And it's just like, this guy's something else. Like he is basically just Gendo Ikari, and it's just like, I need you, son, to be prepared.
He is
for the future.
He is a proper alpha predator of his
alpha male
jungle, right? Yeah, exactly, right. And it makes sense that Louis respects that, right? Because he wanted to have strength despite being a herbivore. He wanted to be more like a carnivore. And with a dad like that, then it totally makes sense. You know?
Yeah. So he's got a ways to go, but he went and met with the girl from the strip club.
Cosmo.
Cosmo. So what's really cool about that is she provides, in the story sense, a potential interaction dynamic that he has never really had before.
Right.
Because it's very different from Haru.
It's very different from Haru.
Very different.
It's very different from Juno and Legoshi.
Well, of course.
Yeah, right.
I don't even see Juno as really being a primary interaction thing other than what happened last episode.
I see Cosmo as being the foil for Juno and how her interaction went in the previous... In the earlier episode, because Juno was the one that was basically saying, come back to the world of high school and things like that, right? And there was sort of that eventual understanding of I'm not that person, you understand that I'm not that person, and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Whereas here with Cosmo, she's basically saying, I've walked this kind of path that you're trying to walk now, albeit in different ways.
Right.
But I know some of the struggles that you're going through, and I've figured out how to make it be something that's sustainable, right?
Well, she said she'll spend the rest of her days here no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's kind of grim if you think about it.
Definitely, right? And she needed Louis' help earlier, right? He did save her life, but there are things that she knows about how to exist in the world of the dark market and all of
this. As a
herbivore that Louis does not. That he's starting to learn those tough lessons on. And so talking to her and having that kind of interaction is very good for him, right?
Yeah.
You know, actually...
But he didn't really talk with her.
No.
That's the part that I feel like is a little bit interesting. He's like entirely just...
Well,
in his own head, thinking about other stuff.
I think that's good, though. That shows that basically he was kind of listening.
I don't think he was listening as much. I feel like he was ignoring potentially a great potential relationship opportunity.
Totally.
And she basically just kind of went, "Oh, okay, just a drink. Okay, goodbye." And said her piece and was gone. But I think if he doesn't actively develop this, in the realistic sense, he might never see her again.
Sure. It feels very similar in my mind to the interaction that Legoshi had with Haru, where it's something where there are lessons that the character, the prospective character, in this case Louis, could learn, right? But because of his own stubbornness and things like that, he's not quite ready to learn the lesson. He's not quite ready to move on and have it all figured out, but he's wrestling with it. When the drink of the vegetable juice comes up, he starts to down it. Like he realizes, he acknowledges to himself that this is what his body needs, right? Yep. It is a voracious need, right? He can't just ignore it.
Right.
And Legoshi, with the whole jaw pull thing, that was probably an example of, hey, that's great that you conquered your instincts, right? With regards to meat and things like that.
That was the first test, basically.
But that is something your body needs.
Right.
And that's why, I don't know how they would handle it necessarily, but I am curious to see if we ever get to a point where Legoshi is able to consume meat in a way that is good for him.
Yes, I think that's why Goheen mentioned that this was the first stage, because what I think he's going to do is he's going to say, all right, now, the next stage is I'm going to give you a slice of meat, a tiny slice of meat, but I'm going to leave still a carcass of sorts, a big hunk of it right there.
We need to see how you handle it.
And you have to only eat this for an entire night. You're going to learn restraint, basically.
Right, you've broken yourself down, now you need to build yourself back up.
Exactly.
And we kind of saw that Louis was already doing something like that in the fact that he would eat that bite of the steak, right? He would go without the vegetables and the things like that, but then he's starting to realize, I can't deny that side of myself, right? I need to actually find some way to coexist, live in harmony and internal balance, and he's going on that journey, right?
Yeah.
And now I love to see it, and that just helps, building the parallels of Louis and Legoshi, which is wonderful.
And then the rough part about this is, will Legoshi even be able to eat any meat ever again, because he basically went through a whole journey of a whole bunch of people's lives being something that he investigated for the purpose of understanding, okay, not just where did this meat come from, but whose meat is this?
Right.
And that's a whole other thing there.
Oh, yeah.
To where, Legoshi might be able to do what Goheen, I would say, he's kind of thinking he could do, which is basically live in both worlds.
Right.
As a carnivore, which makes sense to be able to do as an omnivore, like a panda, but not necessarily as a wolf.
Yeah, pandas have a much easier job than that.
Right, exactly. It's part of their nature. They could totally just be fine on bamboo, but they could also, in need be, chow
tear
down.
Into something.
Tear into something. But I also like that was a subtle way to show that Legoshi is getting better at investigating. He went and, as a carnivore, went to hospitals and funerals or funeral homes or whatever, and basically did all this investigative work as a high schooler. So now when he comes back to the school and he's poor Juno.
Yeah.
I loved that. It was like,
it was a great bit of comedy.
There was a really cool framing of it as comedy, because when they had that bit where they show Legoshi on the left side of the frame, and on the right side they showed that in the background, main cafeteria's lettering is reversed there, showing that they're in a very public place doing this. Oh, yeah. And Legoshi is like, what? Why is this weird?
Right. And then, because he's the one that's like, oh, yeah, same species contact. If you're ever feeling stressed out, just grab my tail.
Right, exactly. Right. So then the herbivores are like, this is weird flirting.
Oh, so this is what
gets quite
what
graphic
happens.
with
when you have wolf on wolf,
Right. Yeah. But in the same breath, he then, in a library, this is the one that is even stupider, and I love it.
God.
Legoshi's in a library, and obviously he's voice-wise, he's kind of gotten quieter. So I think he likes, in some ways, the quietness of the library.
Sure, yeah.
But he decides to say out loud in a library where everyone can hear a pin drop.
Right, with
Let's get married.
Yeah, with no, like, build up to it or anything like that. Like
with something where probably anyone within, like, a 50-foot radius heard him say that.
To say nothing of any animals in there that have, like, especially acute hearing.
Yes, exactly!
Right? Like,
exactly!
Like, Jack could be 500 feet away and just, like, wait, what? Like...
Especially all the small herbivores, because that's one of the things that makes them usually so good at avoiding being eaten, is that they have really good sense of
twigs,
trembling of motion or hearing. So it's just, I just love whoever that was that just like dropped all their books and stuff. Because
I thought he was gonna say because okay, the establishment of the conversation and how it was going, I love it, right?
Right.
Because it's basically...
It was a really good conversation.
It was a DTR when it came right down to it, right? Define the relationship, because Haru was basically saying, hey, there's some things that you've been doing that I'm not okay with, right? You've been blowing me off, and that's not cool, right?
Right.
And even though Legoshi had all the reasons that he was doing it, when it comes right down to it, your personal intentions don't really matter, because that's not what people see, right?
Exactly.
That's not how you form a relationship. That's not how you have good communication. So you need to be able to dance to their beat as well, right? That's how you make things balanced.
It involves basically the bare minimum checking in and being like, how's everything going?
Right. And so Haru
and then listening.
Right. And so Haru is basically giving a little bit of an ultimatum of like, hey,
if we're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend,
if we're not,
right,
there's a guy that I'm probably going to be hanging out with tonight.
Now, did you get the vibe, though, from the way she said that? Not that she was lying, because I don't think she was lying, but what I think it might be, and this is something I'm a little bit worried about here, is that it might be someone that knows that her and Legoshi are together and might be connected to the whole thing of the attack. Because she turned down the other guy because he's not Legoshi.
Right.
She said, I'm into someone way weirder than you.
Yeah.
Which is Legoshi. So she's not meeting a guy friend for any kind of sexual, romantic hookup or anything like that.
Well, no, I think it was going to be that, I think. And that's why she was saying it, right? That's why she was telling him is that this is something that I'm not going to put up with, and if this continues, then this is what I will do.
Gotcha.
Just as a me being me while you do whatever you're doing right now, right?
Okay, because I was wondering if that was something where it was the case there, because she brought it up so early in the discussion. She says it like, it's really early.
Yeah, and he's like, the smell. A male friend
invited me to hang out tonight.
Right.
So
I'm guessing that was basically like a polite form of solicitation.
Yes, right. Just like the one that was out there in the hallway. So what they're saying basically is that she's not going to meet with that male friend that invited her because she turned down this one.
Right.
So it'd be redundant to be picky. I see.
Yep.
Cool.
And so it's the thing of the
what are you going to do about that?
you're still a baka Legoshi.
Yes.
But she was able to see where his heart was at, in that it's the, well, okay, then let's just get married then, and it's like...
She just like...
Wait.
If she had a drink, she would have like spit it in his face.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is, it makes me think of that one, that clip from Incredibles 2 where they're at the diner, and then all of a sudden the guy shows up, because he works there, and,
But bless his heart, because one of the things that's really cool about Legoshi as a protagonist is that he really, really just gets inside his own head too much and doesn't just say out loud some of the things that make sense to say out loud. But when he does speak his mind, I can very much see the emotion that comes through it, that basically
absolute sincerity
colors. Yes, it's sincere, but it does color a bit of what he's saying with a bit of this immaturity of
Oh, sure.
You could say this a lot simpler, Legoshi. There's a lot of ways in which what he's saying is true. It's not something where he's trying to deceive Haru or he's trying to keep her that much in the dark. Yeah. It's him basically saying, hey, here's what I'm comfortable sharing with you, and the reason why is because I'm feeling like all those things. And I'm like, Legoshi, there are like 5 words you could say that would make this way easier, but I totally follow his emotional train of thought.
Right. To quote the thought process of a super dog in a favorite book series of mine, he's heart stupid. And that comes out in moments like this, right? Now, thankfully, Haru and him both did a lot of communicating, right? Where she was basically saying, hey, I don't care about the society stuff and all that. And he's like, wait, but didn't you say you'd like wait for me and stuff? And it's like, yeah, you're missing the point, right? Like all right, let's actually, talk shop here, right? And then at that point he's like, oh, well, if that's the case, then let's get married. That seems like the natural thing to do, right? And it's like, okay, but hey, that was a way, albeit clumsy, to communicate how he feels about Haru. Right.
And I liked that in some ways they kind of this is just a funny, goofy way there. I don't think I've ever really seen this done on screen, and this is, I would say, why just anime is so cool, because it's, adapted from manga, so you get this visual medium to communicate stuff without using actual dialogue, was that he showed a list of a bunch of things.
Oh my god, yes.
And he didn't say them.
No.
So we assume that they were communicated to Haru in some way. Now, did he have a notebook there? And he's like, here's the reasons.
I don't think they actually were, though.
Well, that's the thing, though. You don't know. And we just have to assume...
He's heart stupid.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Exactly. Right? It just makes him even more endearing because we're like...
Yep.
Are these in his head? Did he write these down? Did Haru actually understand anything of what he said?
Right.
Did one of them get communicated, but not some of them? And it's just like... I just find that hilarious. It feels comedic in a way.
It's totally comedic, and the reason why it doesn't bother me, because these kinds of things can totally bother me if it causes serious melodrama, is that he still communicated by over communicating, and then just there were all of the the bad reasons and things like that, right? That didn't fully communicate his feelings in any kind of way that Haru would like, but the message was still kind of gotten across, right? It's just like, okay, this is the situation.
I get it. Okay.
So she runs off, right? But then the ears start turning around and stuff, and she's blushing and stuff, and she's like, okay, all right, I suppose this is what I'm dealing with,
right? And I need to go process my feelings about that,
and how I'm going to deal with this heart stupid wolf.
Exactly. Hey, Legoshi, I'm really proud of you, though, for being able to master your instincts. This was a big step for you, and it will make it easier for you to understand your love for her when it comes up.
Exactly.
And I'm talking about the emotion of it, not the the transcendental, like, spiritual, like, what is love, like, but like the simple desires to be with her, like that.
Yeah, the kind of thing that she mentioned to you of, hey,
I was lonely.
Just be happy together.
Can we just be happy together? Right. It's so simple, Legoshi. So he will then be able to be less confused when that stuff comes up, because it won't be a question of whether she's prey to him or not. It'll be like, she doesn't seem to mind me. I really like spending time with her. Like, all those lists of things, I'm like, I like all these things. I'm like, that's a good list, Legoshi.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic list. I really hope that she was communicated that, but, we'll find out later.
Give it time.
Give it time, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
But then we go to a thing that you lost in the matter of conquering your instincts. Your jaw strength has been diminished. You are no longer a strong carnivore. You are an average or weak-ass carnivore now.
Yep. And by the way, if it was Pooh Bear that attacked you, he saw that.
Yeah. I really wanted to bring up the fact that they have been extremely on the nose in the last, season 2, really, about basically saying that the bear
is a character.
And
he's an important character,
and
right?
He's strong.
Yeah.
And not only that, he is the strongest member of the drama club.
I don't know what it was in that box, but if Bill had trouble picking it up, Bill's built.
Bill is built.
Like just add a T on the end of his name, and that's Bill, right?
That is Bill.
That seemed like it would be like solid concrete in there or something.
He thought you were the stronger one that he could actually take on in a good challenge, Legoshi. So he was surprised as hell when you lost that easily.
Right. But
he's strong.
But then
he thought you were going to be tough.
But Pooh Bear comes along and just is
yep.
And there is something awe-inspiring when you see someone do something physically where you're just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So at a job I worked at, a summer job, right? There were these 50-pound sacks of like pastry flour, basically, right?
Okay, yeah.
And they 50 pounds.
Too,
It's like, okay, that's a decent amount of weight, but it's not too crazy heavy. If anything, it was weird because they were a sack, right? So it's like kind of unwieldy,
it's awkward to hold.
You
throw them over your shoulders, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Or you hold them at your gut level.
But there was this guy from the Ukraine, right? And this guy was built like a brick shithouse, right? Like we would have these aprons that we would wear, right, in order to just keep our clothes clean and stuff while we're working and stuff. And he literally, regularly, would have to ask me to retie it for him because he was such an inverted triangle that it could not stay on him.
Yeah.
It could not stay on him.
Yeah.
And randomly, I would maybe be able to carry 2 of these sacks, you know?
Yeah.
And like...
You're a pretty strong guy.
Yeah. You know, I was pretty strong, but, they're unwieldy, right?
Yeah.
And that would be pretty tough for me, right? I'd have to be careful with maneuvering them and stuff.
Right. You have to, open doors by yourself. That's tricky.
Right, exactly. Push it against the wall so you can, kind of, open the doorknob. This guy just walks up, and he's just got 3 of them and in his arms, and it wasn't...
not even trying.
He was, bouncing on the balls of his feet.
Yeah.
He's like, so, where do these go? And it was more like, so where do these go? And it's just like, how? This is the guy that I would have to take 2 steps to get around, him when, we were working, right? Because he was just that big.
Right.
So, Pooh Bear here, and I'm sorry, I'm sure he has a name that's much more serious than that, but...
Right.
Yeah, he is strong boy. He is a bear.
He is a bear.
You don't fuck with bears.
Nope.
Nope. Bears are one of those creatures in nature that's just you should belong in a fantasy story of some kind. What are you? So
some leftover mammal from the prehistoric era.
Yeah. And he's a brown bear, so it's
right now. To be fair, everyone is proportionally sized to a humanoid kind of equivalent. Yes. So he is not 5 times the weight of the tiger, or 8 times the weight. Because actually, if I remember correctly, tigers have a fair shot against a bear if they somehow snuck up on one.
Sure.
But it's really more just the idea that the bears are some of the... Yeah. The bears are some of the most casual in this regard because they roam sometimes solo.
Oh, yeah.
Tigers and wolves do not do that.
Right. They
go in groups.
One of the reasons why I'm still not positive that it isn't Pooh Bear is that if his fur's long, I was thinking maybe he could comb it over the bite marks. Yeah. But then also something that, granted, might not translate well because the animals in this are anthropomorphic. Yeah. But one of the big things about bears is they've got fat on them, not just muscle. So you try and hurt them, it's great, you gave the size of a weapon that you would need to actually have in order to get to the point where you're doing real damage would be astronomical, right? Like the stories of hunters that go after bears.
Him though. That was
true.
That was a very, very important thing to get at there.
Yeah.
And I will just say that it's more likely, if anything, based on the way this seems to be going, that the bear is one of the people Legoshi has to investigate. But he has to do it in a not awkward way. But the problem is that Legoshi got attacked because he started investigating.
Right.
Now, just because he was investigating the drama club does not mean that the attacker has to be in the drama club. There could be multiple people involved with this.
Sure.
It is a very, I would say, faulty assumption to make that there is just one devourer.
Right. Yeah, totally.
All it means is that the one person who was at that scene in the very beginning of the show is the person that lost their instincts.
Right, that did this devouring.
That did this devouring.
Well, one thing to remember, though, is that in the case with Tem, he was talking to the person who probably devoured him, which means they were probably part of the drama club.
Yes, which means I would guess, personally, I would guess that it is someone in the drama club who was there that night.
Sure.
But the person that attacked Legoshi doesn't have to be in the drama club. It could be someone that's their strong friend.
Right. Uh-huh.
And it just means that they're like, okay, this person's investigating. Please go take care of them.
And if anything, that's kind of what I'm curious about, is that given this focus that we're getting on the bear here, right? We're not really getting any equivalent focus on any other characters that could be the killer.
Right, which means this could be a red herring.
Well, that's why I'm thinking that it's not a red herring. Because there isn't the amount of time being dedicated to this murder investigation in order for me to think that they'll actually do a red herring.
Okay. You know? So pacing-wise, then, you would also then assume that it will take the majority of the season before they actually find out anything concrete.
Possibly, given the fact that we just watched episode 6, right?
And you still haven't really found out much
even
of
though
anything.
If it is the bear, it seems pretty obvious, you know? Because it's not just Legoshi's story, and it's not just the murder investigation. There's Legoshi's story, there's Louis' story, there's Haru's story, there's Legoshi's story with Haru versus Louis versus the murder investigation. There's all these things that are happening. The murder investigation is just one plot of it, and it is small, all things considered.
Right.
You know.
So, jaw pull. We're going to see how the bear just sweeps the tournament.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Because I think it's almost not even a contest.
Well, no. The reason why is because he'll have to bare his fangs in order to do it.
Yeah.
Which means that Legoshi will see it.
Right, even if not as up close.
Yeah. But all he has to do is just be awkward and be like, you know? And it's just like, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
I would love it to be a thing where if the bear is involved, though, the bear is not the one that is, like, the main one.
Okay, sure.
I would love it to be a thing where the bear is actually just either the one that attacked him there, but maybe not the one that devoured Tem.
Yeah, or even if it's something where it's like, I devoured Tem, but it's like, you think I'm special because I devoured Tem? Like, you know, I got caught, you know.
Right,
but like, even if the devourings aren't happening at the school, you think they aren't happening?
Right,
you know?
or just a thing of where it's like, I'm the enforcer for the devourers at this school.
That'd be crazy.
Like, it's just a thing of where I'm like, they've got me, like they've got blackmail on me or something.
Right.
Like,
yeah, because it's something where it feels so obvious that it's the bear that I want it to be something different. I want it to have a different spin on it, not be quite so straightforward. Because one of the other things that I'm kind of wondering about this and how they'll handle it, there were things like Legoshi not, once the person started to run away since his hands were tied up in front of him, not just lifting the blindfold, you know, since he can see in the dark or in relative darkness, you know, he's a night predator, right?
Yeah.
But also, okay, you got a good feel for the teeth. The whole thing with the canines and like whether they're probably male or female, good stuff.
Definitely male.
What about the shape of the jaw and the snout, right? Like, like because a bear, that's a very like stout, wide kind of like jaw, right? Whereas like a wolf, long and narrow, right? So I would think that if Legoshi, and we haven't seen him really think on that too much, you know, but I would love to see his thoughts on like, okay, I can narrow it down to like these kinds of carnivores.
His touch is kind of the one he has to rely on though, because his sense of smell was shot that night.
Yeah. His sense of smell
just
totally
a reminder for
Yep. And that's great, right? But like, you know, if something's biting into you, you'd probably have a pretty good, you know, example of like, okay, you know, this is about the shape of their mouth.
To be fair, the teeth go back pretty deep for most of these carnivores.
That is true.
So just because the snout is like an inch or
two longer, doesn't come too far from the face. Yeah.
The thing that you're mostly going to be experiencing is the tips, the canines specifically here.
Yeah.
So Yeah. But we'll see where this goes. So, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general. And also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.